What's happening, everybody? Thought I would do a video today on, I did the stock market one yesterday, which was the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which kind of, I just keep an eye on the market to see what's happening. I figured today I would pull up a real estate index, which is kind of a representation of the beat of the real estate industry. There's a few different signals that come out that state whether, maybe it's like the home builders, maybe it's the commercial one. All in all, though, they usually kind of move in tandem or they move, in a correlated fashion. So I figured I would use this one. This was just an REIT that I pulled off of the Yahoo Finance and just did a quick analysis on it, which is pretty easy. So if you go back on the daily, you have all the way back down to here. This is where my mouse is. This is your COVID area. I don't think, I can't really highlight there. But this is your COVID area down here. So those are your COVID lows. And I just drew some very straightforward trend lines to show where we are. You could see where like in 2021, where it just got crazy when it took off the top here and decided it was going to new highs, which is great. And then we had a minor trend line right here. You can see where my mouse is. This minor trend line was broken in the past week, which was obviously due. And then I'm sorry, is this the day? No, I'm sorry, this is the weekly. I think I said daily earlier. So, but then you have here, this is the major one right here. And this is the major trend line. This is the same one that we saw yesterday on the Dow Jones Industrial, where that's like the end of the world type line. And we're going after it right now. I was looking at the Dow Jones earlier. We're going after that number. So we're trying to reach this. And what that means is we have to go test and see, there's big positions here, and the big positions are saying, all right, if we come back to here, what are we doing? And you go through this with some force and you're going to scare the daylights out of everybody, because you're going to have to either find support and resistance, now horizontally as opposed to diagonally, by either maybe here, likely here, or here. Hopefully not down here, because that's the COVID lows and we're talking about a whole different ball game. But you can see one thing that's a pretty big signal as I pulled this up, which is this is called an Engulfer Candle, or it's an engulfing candle, or a tweezer top, or pretty close to it, which means the buyers made a pretty hard push right here to top out in this green candle. So they bought really hard and were immediately met by sellers that took the entire position right back out. It's a pretty powerful candle. If you're in an uptrend, you need to see that, which we are, you need to see that fail. What do I mean by that? You need to basically, there needs to be a pretty hard rally against this red candle to say this was a trap, as opposed to confirmation. So like you see, if you go back to like right here, there was another engulfing scenario. If you look at my mouse, so that we went up green, then there was a red. And then what happened? If this was a turning of the tides, you would have seen continuation down. This red candle and sellers would have made more money, but it wasn't. So it was a trap. It was a trap for the sellers, and the bull candles won out. So you're really going to be looking for, after this signal right here in this red and green signal, is there any follow through to come down here? If there's follow through, it means if you're a seller, you're happy. But if you're a buyer, you're going, because you probably, you bought here, you bought here. So it's just something to be aware of, is like what happens between this line right here and where we are now is significant, and we're due for a pullback. So a cooling off lines up on this, a cooling off lines up on the Dow Jones. We're heading into winter. I would expect some news, though, some real significant news to start coming out. The other thing to consider here is volatility. These are some pretty volatile bars. We haven't seen this kind of volatility on the seller side. We've only seen it, if you look back, almost here, but really until you go back to like just out of COVID, you don't really see this kind of volatility. We don't have anything like this back in there, but it's pretty high volatility showing up right now, which is a sign of fear in the markets. So when everything's calm, it's a good time to strike. So just something to consider and keep an eye on it. And, if it starts to move, I'll take another look at this chart and we'll see where we are.